Um, a recession is a macroeconomic term that refers to a significant decline in general economic activity in a designated region. It is a period of economic contraction where businesses see less demand and begin to lose money. A global recession is an extended period of economic decline around the world.
Okay, so four causes of recession in the Caribbean: one, social factor; two, deflation; three, high interest rates; and four, deregulation. Social factors. One major social factor that can now contribute to the recession in the Caribbean would be the COVID 19 pandemic, which has greatly impacted all aspects of any country. Deflation. Deflation is the reduction of the general level of prices in an economy. It reduces the value of goods and services sold on the market, and producers are then forced to liquidate inventories that people no longer want to buy, which causes a fall in demand, causing a recession. High interest rate. A major factor is high interest rates and stagnant wages, a reduction in real income in the labor market. Deregulation. Lawmakers can trigger a recession by removing important safeguards. This removes restriction on loan to value ratios for banks.
These are the five effects of global recession: decline in tourism, fall in remittances, decrease in gross domestic product, increase in debt levels, and increase in unemployment levels. Decline in tourism. Tourism is one of the most important industries in the Caribbean, with roughly 25 million visitors each year, contributing to about 49 billion towards the area's gross domestic product, which represents about 14% of its total GDP. It is often described as the most tourism-dependent region in the world. Tourism transmits its impact on the local economy through wages paid to labor, expenditures on goods and services brought from local producers, and 11.3% of the region's job depends on tourism either directly or indirectly. The more integrated the industry is with the local economy, the greater its impact on agricultural and manufacturing activity. Since the early 1990s, tourism became the key driver of economic growth for the region. Due to the recession caused by COVID-19, countries in the Caribbean are suffering without the tourist sector income. S&P, a credit rating agency that publishes financial research and analysis on stocks, bonds, and commodities, expect that tourism in the Caribbean will probably decline by 60 to 70% from April to December compared to 2019. To put the magnitude of the problem into perspective, these countries are accustomed to welcoming 3 to 6 cruise ships a day. That is 12,000 to 20,000 new tourists hitting their shores every day. But due to health and safety protocols, cruise ships are no longer sailing. Without tourists to pay for parasailing, scuba diving, deep sea fishing, taxis, groceries, etc., tourism dependent countries risk running out of US dollars, which they need for the importation of food, fuel, and for servicing debt obligations.
Fall in remittances. Remittances are money or goods that migrants send back to their families and friends in their origin country. Remittances are often the most direct and well-known link between migration and development. Remittances can reduce poverty in families for families that receive them, and it can also profit laborers who haven't migrated. Remittances allow migrants and their family members to improve their access to health, education, and housing, thereby helping them to achieve their own suitable development goals, SDGs. In 2020, the fall in remittance flow to low and middle income countries were projected to fall by 7.2%, followed by a further 7.5% in 2021. This fall in remittances would be largely due to the economic crisis caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. For migrant workers, the pandemic has implied a fall in wages and business opportunities. As a result, migrant workers are not able to send funds to their families or friends, and so remittances will continue to decrease in our country's economy. Remittances also inject a significant amount of cash into the government because recipients spend a large share of the transfers on imports and other taxable products in the country. This way, remittances have created a cushion for cash-strapped governments and even enabled some countries to avoid debt crises. Hence, if the remittances entering a country decreases, part of the government's funding will also decrease. Remittances can also be of a social nature. The ideas, behavior, social capital, and knowledge attained by migrants during their stay in another country can be transferred to the country of origin. Consequently, a fall in remittances due to a global recession can also cause a decrease in entrepreneurship and innovative skills in one's country.
Decrease in gross domestic product. Gross domestic product is one indicator of health of a country's economy. It is the monetary value of goods and services produced within a country in a one-year period. A decrease in gross domestic product usually occurs for 2 consecutive quarters, which is officially recognized as a recession. In the first quarter of 2020, there was a decrease in GDP at annual rate of 5.0%. This was due to the spread of COVID-19 and the government issuing the stay-at-home orders.
Increase in debt levels. A global recession can cause an increase in the debt levels of a country. The recession can lead to higher interest payments, inflation, large tax hikes, and spending cuts. A country can then have a greater risk of a fiscal crisis. This is when the government uses revenue collection and expenditure to influence a country's economy. High public debt also negatively affects economic growth. Long-term interest rates, high tax rates, and inflation may lead to lower growth rates. This can be seen during the COVID-19 pandemic. As most Caribbean countries have struggling economies, they have trouble paying back debt initially, and with a global recession going on, it will be even harder to pay back debts. Therefore, they will continue to borrow money, increasing the debt levels of a country. Increase in unemployment levels. During a recession, companies face increased costs and stagnant or falling revenue. As the recession spreads, more and more businesses stop their activities or fail altogether, which can lead to a shutdown, increasing unemployment levels. A business may also try to cut costs by laying off some workers. The unemployed will find it even more difficult to find a job during this period. The number of unemployed workers will begin to spike, and the average length of unemployment for workers increases. This leads to a country generating even higher levels of unemployment, which may lead to other problems in the society, such as an increase in poverty or an increase in crime. 5 ways a Caribbean country can recover from the negative effects of a global recession. 1. Though it isn't easy, countries that heavily rely on a certain sector should try to diversify their economies in order to avoid it collapsing. 2. The government can promote different tourism methods such as native or sustainable. 3. In order to repair the recession, the government can create jobs through spending more and by re-employing idle resources.
4. A country can also increase their gross domestic product so as to generate capital. 5. A country's government can encourage exports in their country so that inflation doesn't occur. This way, the country can be seen as a producer state rather than a consumer state.
And that is the end.
Thank you very much. Great presentation. Next group, 4. Why economic growth does not necessarily reflect development.
All right, so group 4 got to explain why economic growth does not necessarily reflect development.
Introduction. This study seeks to examine that the theory of economic growth does not reflect economic development. Economic growth refers to an increase in the level of the national income concerned with the measurement of the total volume of goods and services produced in an economy, which is the gross domestic product GDP. Although economic development also observes the GDP, other factors are brought into consideration entailing the lives of the population and the country's standard of living. Despite their correlation, economic growth is just one aspect of economic development. Factors affecting economic development include social factors, environmental factors, cultural factors, technological factors, and political factors. All aid in the understanding of the substantial evidence that economic development conveys more than economic growth.
Point 1. There are 3 main social factors that reflect the development of the country and its citizens. These factors include gender inequality, class boundaries, and education. Gender inequality is the social process by which men and women are not treated as equals. Men are given higher wages for the same job as a woman. Men are offered more opportunities, and women are less likely to be offered leadership roles. This is all perpetuated by the lack of laws such as Equality Opportunity Act and enforcement of anti-discrimination laws. When a country can exhibit gender equality, it shows great growth, which leads to development. Class boundaries are another thing that needs to be addressed. We have shown development by no longer determining a person's worth by their race, class, or ethnicity. By doing so, we have improved the standard of living and quality of life for many of the working class. Education plays a big role in developing a country, with literacy, numeracy, technical skills, and problem-solving skills needed to be taught so that the future generations can better the country. Now that we have made basic education open to all, it has allowed us to move past the term developing and towards developed. Evidence is clear that the 3 main social factors heavily reflect on the development of a country. Environmental factors in a country also contribute deeply and reflect the development of the country and its citizens. Some examples of environmental factors are deforestation, afforestation, pollution, climate change, and other man-made and natural disasters, including earthquakes, volcanoes, and hurricanes. The environmental factors have direct impact on the development as it can influence the workings of the country on how to properly conserve and plan to use one's natural resources without wastage. If not properly used, it can hinder the development by setting the country back. With natural disasters, the country must put aside their set out objectives for development and focus on human welfare, as many face losses of homes and poverty. Man-made disasters are usually caused by businesses wanting to expand. This would benefit the public by having more job opportunities. However, if not looking at the effect on the environment, this could possibly cause pollution, soil erosion, and deforestation. Keeping all these in check, It promotes proper planning of infrastructural development plans, including roads, bridges, and buildings. And increased planning in the general social and physical workings of the country and its people. The evidence is clear that the environmental factors heavily reflect on the development of a country. Another point to consider is the cultural factors that affect the economic growth and development of countries. Culture is an umbrella which refers to the deposit of knowledge, experience, beliefs, values, attitudes, and more. A country's culture can affect economic growth through tourism, social capital, and language. Social capital is a set of shared values that allows individuals to work together in a group to effectively achieve a common purpose. As it were, culture can be a form of social capital. When persons come together to share cultural life, achieve a common purpose, as it were, when persons come together to share cultural life through celebration and intercultural dialogue, it enhances its relationship, partnerships, and networks, which in turn plays a role in economic performance, better quality of government. Language, as it refers to culture, can be the way one is taught to instill values in a person and the way one grows up to communicate with others and themselves can determine how fast a country is able to experience economic growth. When it comes to tourism, many people travel to different places in the world to experience and learn about one's culture. Tourism contributes to a country's income, employment opportunities, and foreign exchange, which all contribute the growth of a economy, and it can also affect development in that the income can contribute to education and healthcare, and the quality of life of people. Culture, although not often seen as a significant factor, is the way of life of people and can affect the development of a country.
Technology
Selena?
is seen as an indicator in the productivity of economic development as opposed to economic growth. Technology aids in saving time while making lengthy decisions, leading to efficiency, creating specialization of jobs, research, and international trade. Technology is seen as the scientific knowledge that is incorporated in various industries. Hence its importance throughout the economy as it plays a crucial part for research purposes, international trade, and on a whole, saving time and labor. With the use of technology, businesses are given the opportunity to expand their range in assisting the economy to promote products and services. Additionally, information and communications technology, ICT, plays an important role in the daily activities inside an economy as it is the backbone of innovation and overall growth. Furthermore, technology provides a significant platform in the development of the economy in such a way that it assists the environment, more relating to being able to give the population an opportunity to engage in the innovation of business production as it relates to information and communication technology, ICT.
Brianne?
The last point to consider is the factor of politics on economic development. Government policies and ideologies, as well as good governance, can influence a country's economic development. Governments use taxes for the development of a country. These monies that citizens pay go towards things like spending on healthcare, subsidies in schools, and investing in businesses, which reduces the unemployment rate. When the government manages the resources of the country properly and there is no corruption, economic development can grow. Capitalism allows for growth in the economy as countries can garner wealth from the production of goods and services in different industries. With communism, however, the state has control over how these things are run, and there is no free market. These political ideologies strongly influence economic growth, which can be indicated by things like the GDP and GNP. Economic development can also be affected as it takes them into account. However, from this we can deduce that economic growth is not necessarily seen in economic development, as it has more to do with the improvement of the standard of living of persons within a country and their quality of life.
So, in conclusion, economic growth does not necessarily reflect development, but other factors such as social, technological, political, environmental, and political do. Hence, economic growth only representing an aspect of the overall development of an economy. That's it.
Very good presentation, excellent presentation from group 4. Points well presented, lovely introduction, conclusion. All the different sections were peeled properly. Great work, group 4. Group 5. And group 5 is going to present on what indicators can be used to assess the extent to which development something to human development. I think that's the question. Group 5. Who is that? All right, nobody from group 5. Group 6. Discuss the extent to which sustainable development is a viable option. So who is group? So group 5, Rose, Case, Claire, Sinclair. Group 6,
Yes,
Daily,
sorry,
Lazarus.
Technical issues. I'm trying to present the thing, but I don't know what's going on. So if you can make group 6 go first and then we'll go afterwards.
Okay, group 6, Daily, Lazarus, Black, get field.
Okay, sir. So group 6 will be presenting on sustainable development. And the question was, in light of the Caribbean's vulnerable environment, to what extent is sustainable development a viable option? So there are three main concepts that have instilled the concept of this development. Development as the enactment of human values, development as increasing differentiation or complexity, and development as liberation or human freedom. What is sustainable development? Sustainable development refers to a concept of advancing a people's quality of life through both economic and human development without compromising future generations and their capacity to meet their own needs. Development refers to a country's improvement in ways of managing its natural and human resources. In order to create wealth and improve people's lives, the Caribbean is a diverse region with significant economic potential and growth opportunities. However, the region is extremely vulnerable to natural hazards and face many difficulties. Caribbean countries have long been among the most indebted, resulting in slow growth, poverty, and exploitation of natural resources. Over the past years, the different governments of the Caribbean countries have projected strategies for better development in the Caribbean, especially regarding the Caribbean's vulnerability. This presentation seeks to explain the extent to which implementing sustainable development is a viable option for preserving the resources of the Caribbean as it relates to the four pillars of the human development paradigm. Sustainable development often speaks to the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. The Caribbean is faced with several threats and difficulties, such as increased and high exposure to natural hazards, the open and trade-dependent economies with limited diversification and competitiveness. These portray a structurally and environmentally vulnerable region and poses as a threat to the future generations. Therefore, there is always awareness in regards to maintaining and managing the resources of the Caribbean region. Sustainable development is often treated as an environmental issue, but for any form of development to take place, it is not only the government's responsibility to manage the natural resources of the environment. There must be commitment made by the people of the different countries, and that depends on the extent to which their human development needs are being addressed. Therefore, sustainable development will only be viable or efficient if the economic and human development of the people are also improved. For example, the poor management of sustainable development can be seen in Haiti. Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere with a GDP of US $798. Majority or almost all of the forestry in Haiti is depleted. The forests have been cut down for firewood, building houses, etc., and as a result, and results in massive soil erosion. From research and observation, the root causes of Haiti's poverty comes from the increased economic, political, and corruption in the country. Hence, majority of the measures designed to ensure sustainable development are directed at poverty reduction. Another example is seen in Jamaica. The island's beaches are receding, causing floods throughout the island. However, the major causes of the beaches depleting is due to climate changes, which is influenced by the country's ignorant citizens, economic activities such as harmful and restricted fishing practices, tourism activities, etc. This proves to show that without empowerment, equity, and productivity, there is barely any room for sustainable development. As the previous examples demonstrated, the extent to which sustainable development is viable relies on the four main pillars of the human development paradigm, as well as the economic development of the country. Equity refers to the government and people of the country being all able to equally access the opportunities the country offers. Productivity speaks to being able to access the necessary resources in order to be economically stable. Empowerment addresses the degree to which individuals feel a sense of self-efficacy. Sustainability is the goal of the human development paradigm to attain sustainable development by following a process of development that puts the people first. If there is no equal chance for persons to obtain opportunities, despite their race, gender, or religion, use them efficiently to generate wealth, nor provide for themselves, then they will resort to the natural resources to earn a living. Being empowered helps persons to make decisions that are in their best interests and perhaps broaden their range of interests. Finally, according to the human development paradigm, development initiatives cannot be sustainable unless they are built solidly on concerns of equity, productivity, and empowerment. Sustainable development, therefore, relies on a host of conditions in the society which enable citizens to understand the importance of engaging in practices that do not harm the environment. Sustainable development is more concerned with the quality of life of each citizen rather than the material improvement in their existence. If equity, productivity, and empowerment are put in place, then sustainability becomes viable. The human development not only promotes sustainable development, but outlines a process by which it can be attained. That's it.
Thank you very much, Daly, for the presentation. Very, very good attempt. The issues were covered. I think for group 3, so group 3, group 4, group 5, no, group 6, that was group 6. Group 5, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead for me, please.
Okay, sir. I'll share my screen now.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, students. Good morning, sir. Our topic for today is what indicators can be used to assess the extent to which development is conscious of human development goals. And some of the indicators that we'll be looking at today are education, life expectancy, economic pertaining to the GNI per capita, and increasing people's freedom. This essay seeks to explore the indicators that can be used to assess the extent to which development is conscious of human development goals. Development is defined as the improvement in the standard of living and quality of life of a country's citizens. Human development goals are those designed to better the lives of all human beings. Development can be measured using the Human Development Index, a statistic developed by the United Nations to measure various countries' level of development using education, life expectancy, and the GNI per capita. The indicators that will be explored are education, life expectancy, the GNI per capita, and the freedom of individuals within a country. Lois? Okay, so our first point is education is a human developmental indicator which is under human development consideration. With the use of the Human Development Index, it is shown where Norway is ranked first and Bhutan is ranked 129th due to differences in education. Norway, having 12.9 years for the mean years of schooling versus Bhutan's 4.1 years. Education as an indicator looks at how useful people are in order to benefit the development of one's country, as well as the time frame in which they become a liability. When the people of the country are educated, they are able to learn skills and become more innovative to aid in development. With education, people are qualified for jobs, and so employment increases. And even with these qualifications, they themselves can create businesses, hence creating more jobs and an increase in employment in the country. This will aid development in that more goods and services are being produced that can be exported, which benefits the country as well. Through education, people are equipped to add to the human development goals in creating more solutions to the problems of society. Point 2. Life expectancy is an indicator that may be used to assess the extent to which development is conscious of human development goals. Using the Human Development Index, Norway is ranked first with a life expectancy of 83.8, in comparison to Central African Republic at the rank 188 with a life expectancy of 53.3. It can be seen that if a country has good healthcare services, high standard of living, and employment rate is high, life expectancy is increased. This will result in more persons working and earning income, as well as giving back to the economy through purchases. Persons will also be in a better health and happier, and as such contribute to the development of the country. In comparison to when the country is deep in poverty, low standard of living, and no jobs, which might lead to death, disease, and unhappiness of the people, reducing the contribution to development. The increase of life expectancy can be seen as a human development indicator, which aids in the human development goals.
The gross national income per capita is an indicator that may be used to assess the extent to which development is conscious of human development goals. Using the 2020 HDI as a source, the difference between Denmark and the Ecuador can be seen. Denmark is ranked 10 and has a GNI per capita of $58,662, while Ecuador is ranked 86 and has a GNI per capita of $11,044. The development of a country focuses on different aspects such as the country's economy. The state of the country's development can be indicated using the GNI per capita. Similarly, human development goals include the eradication of extreme poverty, and poverty can be indicated by the GNI per capita because it depicts humans' ability to provide for themselves and their families. This depicts that development is conscious of human development goals because by generating jobs, training persons for said jobs to increase the development of a country, it contributes to human development by decreasing or reducing poverty. While Denmark's and Ecuador's ranks in the HDI are not only determined by the GNI per capita, it was still an important factor. Today, countries are still ranked via the HDI as a measure of development, where the GNI per capita of countries is an important indicator. Expanding the range of choice variables as an act to increase human freedom can be used to assess the extent to which development is conscious of human development goals. In a country, there are a variety of goods that are imported due to the fact that it is not produced in the home country to increase the range of goods provided. Freedom can be described as an emancipation from alienated material conditions of life and social servitude. This involves an expanded range of choices for societies and the minimization of external constraints. Economist W. Arthur Lewis stressed the relationship between economic growth and freedom from servitude when he concluded that the advantage of economic growth is not that wealth increases happiness, but that it increases human choices. Economic growth will then lead to the development of the economy, and it is this development that will create a variety of options. This relates to human development goals because persons will experience a sense of freedom because they are now able to choose from a wide range of goods and services and are not being limited or forced to settle due to a lack of choices. The increase in human freedom by expanding the range of choice variables as can be seen as development indicator which aids in human development goals.
In conclusion, some indicators that may be used to assess the extent to which development is conscious of human development are education, life expectancies, GNI per capita in regards to the economy, and expanding the range of choice variables as an act to increase human freedom. All indicators show how development is conscious of the goals of human development. Thank you. This is our presentation.
Thank you very much. In terms of just have two comments with this group. Excellent presentation. My first, where it is, first comment is in relation to the figures that were used in the presentation, and one of that is the strong reliance on Denmark and Denmark and Norway. That is good. You could mention that in the exam, but remember it's a Caribbean exam. And so if we look at the top 10 countries based on the Human Development Index, life expectancy years in school, mean years in school, these are some of it, right? The GNI, these are some. Those who are ranked at the very top is Denmark. But in terms of the Caribbean countries, UK is ranked 13, the US 17, shockingly. We reach down to 40 countries. Portugal, Hungary. So we are in the top 50 countries. Still no Caribbean country. No man, Barbados ranked a little higher than the others. All right, so in the from 51 down, this is where the Caribbean start to feature. So the country in the Caribbean that is ranked the highest on the Human Development Index is the Bahamas, followed by Barbados. So they are ranked pretty high on the index. Then after Bahamas and Barbados, then you have Grenada. After Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua, right? So we are seeing where the other countries in the Caribbean are doing way better than us on the Human Development Index. St. Lucia, the Dominican Republic, come down, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dominica. We don't reach Jamaica yet. Ghana. No man, Jamaica is there. So Jamaica is 101. So Jamaica, and so you have Jamaica and Belize. After Jamaica is Belize. Then Ghana. So those are three countries, Caribbean countries, that are ranked at the bottom on the Human Development Index. That is very bad for us, especially those of us in Jamaica, which are very, very bad. And so you could use, for example, the Bahamas and Barbados their ranking to talk about the Human Development Index in relation to Norway and those territories, because they have done very well in providing access to their citizens, free healthcare, free education right up to the university level, unemployment benefits, food grants, free bus ride for their students. The students who have to pay to go on public transportation bus, they go free. And so these countries tend to care about the development of the individual, right? And so they are ranked pretty high on the Human Development Index. You also in the presentation, you discuss about freedom, and you link freedom to access to certain goods. Good, don't have a problem with that. But when we're talking about Human Development Index and freedom, we're talking about what are the different rights of our citizens, if the rights of the citizens are being protected, and if the citizens in a country really, they don't have certain rights. So like they look at things like gender inequality or equality between genders. People are able to practice their sexual orientation, police brutality, all of these different stuff feature under freedom and under freedom. So it's not only access to goods, because I believe almost everybody have access to goods, but it is looking at these different type of freedom. So very good. Thank you very, very much.
Excuse me, sir.
Repeat.
Excuse me, sir. I wanted to ask a question.
Go ahead for me.
So, sir, in regards to the Human Development Index, you're saying to make the presentation better, we would basically compare the Caribbean country to the extra-regional territories, sir?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What you have as your basis, like Norway and Denmark, you could also mention that, and in the Caribbean, Barbados and the Bahamas also ranked very high on the Human Development Index.
Okay, sir. Not to yes, sir, but include the Caribbean countries.
Yes, include them.
Okay, sir.
Because if we look at it, the country that we will consider to be the utopia would be Norway, correct? All of us on the Human Development Index, everybody should ascribe to be like Norway. But in the Caribbean, while we don't have Norway, which is in the region, but other countries are doing well on the Human Development Index, and these countries would be the Bahamas and Barbados. So just mention the Caribbean countries that the examiners are aware, because these are essays, these are past paper questions. I just wanted to mention the Caribbean countries so they know that you know about the Caribbean. And then there's a part on it that you mentioned about Haiti in one of the points. And you could even say for Haiti that Haiti is ranked 170 on the Human Development Index. Then so if we look at the Human Development Index, Haiti is not doing that bad because other countries are doing not so well. But these index are very biased, a lot of bias. If you look at it, all the African countries are at the bottom. Caribbean countries fall in the middle, and all the white countries fall at the top. But very good presentation, ladies. So when we are going to meet again, I'll send you and give you the schedule for next week, because I'm still not sure how next week is going when it comes to school. All right, so I'll send that to you in the WhatsApp group. Thank you very much for the presentation, ladies.
Bye, sir.
Bye-bye.